Like I love like we'll get into how I felt about the getting around, but I really enjoyed walking around New York. I mean, it's fucking pretty. Like it does wear off pretty quickly. I mean, it's always beautiful. Even after like 6 days, like it's still really pretty. But definitely after the first 20 minutes are like, oh, and then after the 20 minutes, the shine kind of washes off. And okay, now I need to get somewhere. But it's really cool. I can't remember where we were. We were kind of by NYU. There's a really cool street. I wish I knew the name of it, but it's really pretty. It's really narrow. I mean, it feels like you're in like Italy or like one of those old town
like a canyon.
Yeah, and you just have it's narrow on either side, but it was this row of like Moroccan food, teriyaki, like every cultured food you could possibly have. And we went and got Indian food and got some wrap. And I honestly had no idea what I was ordering. It said like, "What's good?" She said a thing back to me that I couldn't pronounce, and I said, "Give me 2 of those," right? And I got it, and it was this like wrap, and it was just like a roll. She called it a roll. It was a wrap for me, is what it felt like. Oh my God, it was so good. And there was like a little bar there are 3 seats in the entire restaurant. It feels like a food cart that you can walk into. Literally, it's like so tiny.
Yep.
And we're in there. Suzanne's on the phone with work. I'm eating my thing, and she's taking pictures of me while she's on the phone, like talking loudly because that's New York. No one gives a fuck. And this other guy next to us is doing work on a notepad, and it's just this little tiny hot area that's beautiful, like wonderful. And I love it. And I really got to say, back to the phone thing, in New York, you ever been in public and someone gets on the phone? Like here in Portland, if you're on the phone talking loudly in public, you kind of get looked at. You're like, can you take that somewhere else? Like people are like, what the fuck, man? In New York, no one cares because they understand like there's not privacy. There's not a spot you can go to get privacy and get away for a phone call. So you just fucking talk about everything on the phone around everybody. It doesn't fucking matter. And I like it because I've always been the guy in Portland, like, I'll fucking talk on the phone. Like, I don't care if I'm at Winco. Like, I got to talk. Like, I don't care if I'm shopping. It's what I'm doing, and I got to do it, so I'm going to talk to the person. But in New York, I appreciate that they don't care if you do that. There's this openness and, like, no one's afraid to be loud or be themselves. And oh, man. I know I feel like I'm talking way too much and too quickly, but I just have to say, like, I have a fondness for the people there, right?
You liked the vibe and the culture.
I've never felt like I kind of fit in more. I mean, look, it was exhausting, and I'll talk about why it was tiring, but I really enjoyed it's competitive. It fucking is. Like, it's not an easy place to do anything, to survive, to make it, like, and I think my ego wants to say, like, oh, I could make it in New York. Hell yeah. I don't know. That'd be fun to find out someday. I don't think I ever will, because I think I can have a better life. Like, Cincinnati sounds peaceful and enjoyable, and New York sounds difficult and hard.
So I just released an episode of the Portland Beer Podcast, which is now the Craft Beer Podcast, but at the time I recorded Portland Beer Podcast was Steve Alp.
Yeah, Steve.
So he grew up in Montana.
Yep.
He left Montana and went to work selling wine in New York City.
Really?
And he lived there for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So then he came back to Montana, and on the podcast he talked about how hard it was to come back. And for him, in Bozeman, you're surrounded by mountains, and he felt like in New York, the buildings were the mountains.
Yep.
But he said the pace was so much faster. And he said in Bozeman, people work just as hard and just as long, but their pace is different and the intensity's different. And he had to learn to just chill. And he said it's so much easier to speed up than to slow down.
It is. It's New York taught me how to rest, and we'll get into that. That'll be really fun.
Oh, interesting.
It's been a big, momentous change for me. I think I don't know if like my energy feels different today. I don't know if you feel like when you walk in the house, but like I feel recharged, and that's because I learned how to rest because of New York and how hard it was.
That's good.
It was a big change for me.
So we're going to Bozeman first week of June for Bozeman Craft Beer Week. And
Correct.
I want you to meet Steve.
Oh, I can't wait to shake his hand.
Hit it off. I think you guys will chat about both having been in New York, and I think you'll like him. He's just a great guy.
Well, there's a stereotype in the West Coast where we're from, and I've said this like on Instagram, on Strong in Sports, and everywhere, but I want to just repeat it because it really matters to me. Like on the West Coast in Portland, people say New Yorkers are mean. And it's just not true. They're busy. They're fucking going somewhere. Everyone's on like a mission, right? To get to the subway or to get to dinner or to get to work, or like they're writing on their notebook. Like everybody's constantly busy, and they're not mean. They're just doing stuff. And you don't bother someone when they're studying for a test or when I think there's a harshness, but it's not out of a sense of people being mean. It's out of the sense of they're doing something. Why would you interrupt them? And as someone who works all the time, like, I get that for sure. I mean, I'm horrible at answering my phone, and I feel interrupted all the time. Like, you call me sometimes, and I don't mean to snap at you, but I'm like,
What do you want? I
Yeah,
gotta work.
Like, motherfucker, like, I'm writing right now. What's up? And that's how New York is that just very aggressive. Intense is a great word. Fast, like harsh, energetic.
But it's missional. They're mission driven.
Yeah.
It's not
oh,
just
yeah.
they're not just mean. They're on a mission, and they don't need distractions.
There's a sense of purpose in New York from everybody, and that's why I resonate with it. Right? Like, I don't think everyone can make it in New York. I just don't. I know people that would go to New York and fall on their ass and not make it because they don't work hard enough. Or they don't have enough intensity.
You don't think the average Portland hipster would make it in New York?
Fuck no. The city would eat them alive. And I that's why I don't even know if I could. I think I'm pretty intense and pretty.
Yep.
I work my ass off. I think I could exist in New York. Like I could kind of do it, but would I be my happiest? I don't even think I could keep up. Right? I think it kind of kills everybody that lives there.
Okay, so tell me about this rest. I want to hear the story.
At first, I gotta say, we're in Uptown Manhattan, and it's really cool the way New York works. Like, I don't know if this is true, but this is my assumption, right? Is that the term downtown always refers to the biggest, like downtown Portland is the biggest, tallest area of Portland,
right?
And every city you go to has a quote downtown, and it just means the biggest industrial business area, like the tallest buildings with the most businesses, kind of thing.
Or in a small town, it's the little hub.
Yeah, it's the center though, right?
Yeah.
And in New York, downtown doesn't mean the same thing. If you're in Manhattan, it's like a long, looks like a ruler kind of. It's this long strip of land. And uptown is the northern part, the upper part of town. Downtown is the lower part, the southern up and down. So on the subway, you can go to uptown or you can go to downtown. We were in uptown Manhattan, which is like the higher local, the highest part is kind of Harlem. We were kind of just below Harlem, kind of near the middle of Central Park, which is still uptown compared to like, you see pictures of like Wall Street is more downtown.
Yep.
But my guess is that everyone went to other cities and were like, well, this feels like, because downtown is the biggest part of Manhattan, like the tallest buildings. I think the Empire State Building is there, Wall Street is there. And my guess is that people would leave New York and go to, say, Portland and say, well, how do we describe this area of Portland? My assumption is everyone said, well, it's kind of like downtown New York, so it's downtown Portland. It's downtown Cincinnati. It's downtown Tampa. That's my guess. I haven't looked it up. I have nothing to base that on, but that would make sense to me, the step of logic. So we're in uptown Manhattan, and I'm walking Suzanne's dog, which is really a cool experience, and everybody's at work. Like, every fucking person was at work, and I'm in this kind of Jewish neighborhood where mostly just people live, and there's bagel shops, but there were very few people. And it was crazy because I was walking, and it's slightly a little bit misting rain, and it's like 3 blocks from the Hudson River. And so I'm walking the dog, we go to the Hudson River, and there's nobody around. Fucking nobody. And it's crazy because New York is always busy. There's always people. And even even the slow, calm part of what I'm saying, well, there's still like 3 people around. You can still see human beings, but it was very calm. And it was a weird experience because I realized, like, despite all the busyness, despite all the craziness, the part of New York I was in felt like kind of serene and kind of slow. And I was like, this is wild and weird because you expect, and it was what you expect, but during the day when everyone's at work, the residential areas are kind of low key and quiet. And I had this moment of like, you can hear the noises and it's kind of drowning out everything. And I had this moment of peace where I look around and I'm like, it's tall, it's pretty, it's loud, which I like because it drowns out your thoughts and all the noises. And I just felt a sense of calm. I was like, wow, this is weird. Now, the rest story comes from this, is that getting around New York is such a hassle. I mean, I went to MetLife Stadium, and MetLife is in New Jersey, which is across the river from Manhattan, and it's 8 miles away. And I think you live, like 12 miles from where I live?
Yep.
And it's no problem. You just drive to my house. Easy.
Yep.
Oh, hell no. New York, 8 miles is a mission. It's like an all-day thing. So, like, you can either take like 3 different subways, like transfer, which means go, wait, then you're at MetLife. And then I think even then you still have to take like a taxi or something from the station to MetLife Stadium. Or you can take a bus, which is what we ended up doing, which comes only once an hour and it still takes like 45 minutes to get there. Or you can take like literally a $75 Uber to go only 8 miles, which 8 miles in Portland is like a $13 Uber. Like, it's nothing. And so my point is that literally existing in New York is such a hassle and a chore. I mean, everything you do, going somewhere, doing something, drains you. And because you're never alone, you're always kind of bumping shoulders with people, or you're always around people, and that in of itself is kind of exhausting because you're still not like, you know, when you go home, you take off your pants and you're sitting in your underwear on the couch, and that moment is just like complete not giving a fuck. You never really have that moment because you're always around people. You're still presenting a little bit, even if you're being yourself and relaxed. So New York just kicks your ass emotionally and just exhausts you. And so we got back, and it was, I think, Saturday night after the New York Guardians XFL game. And it was 7:30, which for me is 4:30, right? Because I'm on West Coast. I never left West Coast time while I was there. I would stay up till like 2:30 in the morning, go to bed, which I would have done. It felt like I just tried to stay on the same time zone because I didn't want to like get on to East Coast time, then try to come back to West Coast time. And so it was 7:30, really 4:30 for me. And I was like, I'm tired. I look at Sam like, you want to just go to bed? And so we just fell asleep at 7:30 at night and just went to bed. And the dog's laying with me on the couch, and I'm just chilling, and didn't wake up till the next morning. It was a big moment, like, oh my God, I was tired. I listened to myself, and I went to sleep. And you're laughing at me, but it was really like, I need to do this more often when I'm tired and beat. And so I got back from New York.
Wait. Are you saying that when you're tired, you need to go to bed?
Oh, yeah, but I just always struggle with that. I feel tremendous guilt all the time. Like, I really do. I mean, I struggle so much with that. Like when your body's telling you you're tired, but I'm saying I have work to do, and that wrestling, that tug of war in my brain between I need to rest and I need to work,